Are you ready to learn what red flags keep an eye out for when looking for love?
Then we got you covered. I'm Brianna.
And I'm Alex.
And this is the podcast where we unpack reality TV and call out the bullshit.
So that you show up confidently while dating and in relationships. Welcome to Ditch the Script.
I love it.
Hey, gorgeous lady.
Hey, good morning. It's morning. There you are.
It is. I have my coffee that Pseudo-Mom made for me. This girl makes a mad almond milk latte. It's so good.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's special. That's how you know you're on
Special.
vacation.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
You know you're on vacation when someone makes
Got
you a
my
nice
nails
latte.
did.
Girl. Did you get your
and
AC fixed?
I did get the AC in my car fixed first thing yesterday morning.
Good. Very good.
Which has been a long time coming. So hashtag blessed.
Like maybe we don't need to remind people where you are, but like Alex lives in the desert, in Southern California desert, like as south as desert as you can get over there. It is far too hot to not have working air conditioning.
In your vehicle. I mean, working air conditioning anywhere in your home or your vehicle. But we got it fixed, so we're good.
Yeah.
You're looking gorgeous today.
Thanks, girl. I put on an inch of makeup, like an inch. This is my thing about makeup that I love. Little backstory. Well, you and I start from a similar place of like, we were taught how to do stage makeup before we were taught how to do makeup for like everyday life.
Yeah.
Really young, like I have core memory. Some of my core memories include Dan entering our like dressing room or like our like girls' bathroom, whatever you want to call that space, and giving us like a master class on contouring well before Kim Kardashian was like, contouring is a thing that exists. We were like, we've been known. We've been new.
Yeah.
So I think for me, like I know how to do makeup. And there was a period in my life around the same period that you were also experimenting with a lot more makeup for a very different reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was doing makeup at that time because I was like heavy into YouTube and I was like using it as like a creative outlet, which was really fun. But also I sort of resent that. I don't resent the practice. I resent what it like
symbolizes,
what it maintains. Yeah. And it just felt like, oh my God. And also sort of the effect that it has, which is I am now only comfortable with like layers and layers and layers of makeup, literally, in order to feel presentable in any space, whether that was at school at the time, at work, out. And I don't think that I was acknowledging that negative aspect of it because I was like, I love doing it because it feels fun. And it was, and it is. I'm grateful to have the skills. And then I just started to sort of like break away with it. Like trends also in makeup change. Like there's still people that do like full beat. But I personally can't be fucking bothered. My skin's really sensitive. It breaks out really easily. And so I was just like, let me just stop going to work with makeup on and see how that feels. Secret is no one gives a fuck.
Yeah.
Maybe someone tells you look tired.
Yeah. Oh my God. Which I feel like that could technically be considered harassment. I feel like we just had a training on this in Saguaro, and I heard that that's a thing. Like, you're not supposed to tell somebody that.
Just don't comment on appearance at all unless it's like clearly violating a code, which the codes are also. You got to be careful about those too. You got to be careful about the compliment. You can be like, throwback to last episode, nice juicy ass at work. You can't do that.
No. But, I got lots of compliments on my haircut, and, like, that's fine.
Oh, I bet. Yeah,
so
it's chic.
Hey, love your new hair. Or, like, love the fit today. I feel like those are safe.
Yeah. Those are safe, for sure. Cool fit, nice hair.
Love your energy today.
Oh, that's no. That's actually such a beautiful compliment. I love that. If someone were to tell me like, "Oh my God, I love your energy," that'll make me feel seen. Is that not appropriate at work, you think?
I feel like it depends on the person. And I think that really is what it comes down to is like, if you have rapport built, they'll be able to understand like the context of the comment. But if there's a lack of rapport, I think that's especially when you're like, really gotta pay attention. But going back to the whole makeup chat, it's been interesting for me with like, so I really identify as like a tomboy, or I have for a long time. Like I'm a tomboy. I don't need, like I used to just never care about the latest fashion trends or makeup. Like I had this weird relationship where as a child I felt so much pressure to conform and look a certain way that I like dug into it. And then almost as a rebellion in my like early 20s, I was like, screw that. I don't care. So I got really comfortable not wearing makeup. I almost rejected like all things feminine. Like I wore it as a badge of honor.
I totally understand.
Yeah.
I totally understand.
I don't care about fashion. I don't care about makeup. I don't care about mani-pedi. It's like, I used to be or doing my hair. Like, I'm not, I used to like pride myself on like, I'm that girl that'll get ready in 10 minutes for you,
Yeah.
And as I've been healing, I've like really understood, like I've rejected my femininity because of trauma. And so like healing that, and having a new relationship with all of those things in a light that I enjoy, right? Like not what society tells me. And that's been like an interesting process. And so I love that. And like you and I have talked personally about that. Same with nudes. You and I were talking about nudie pics, and it's like, can I just take a nudie pic for me and my confidence? Not because I have to
That's what I've done for all of my years. Literally all of my years.
Exactly. It's like if I'm feeling myself and I think I look cute, regardless of my relationship status, it's like I'm gonna, take this time to like, remember that. It's just
that's such a good point, because it really demonstrates that like, you can tap into these things like your femininity as much or as little as you want, as long as it's coming from a place of what feels like it's serving you. So like, for example, no, you don't need to wait to take nude photos of yourself until you have a partner to send them to. Yeah. It's like, oh, I don't have anyone to send these to. No, bitch, if you like what you see in the mirror and you want, and like the lighting's right, and you want to snap a flick, put it in your hidden folder. Move it to the hiddens. That way, anytime someone's looking through your pictures because you want to show them an animal you saw on the street, you don't need them to see your vagina or your tits or whatever the case may be. But, like, take the picture. It doesn't matter if you don't need to send that to someone. Oh, my God. Did I tell you this? I took a picture of myself, not nude, but I took a picture of myself in the Vegas bathroom when we were there. Yeah. And I was like,
used it on your Bumble profile, right?
Because I was like, this is a little much. But I was like, wait a minute, this is my photo. Yeah. I'm allowed to use this however I want. Maybe I reframe this as a research experiment and see if it gets some hits. Yeah, it worked. Yeah, it be working.
Yeah, I just feel like the societal conditioning we've had as women is like our sexuality has a purpose for men, and it's like, F that, my sexuality is mine and it's my power, and like I get to embrace that. And so it's like, it's like, ladies, let's hone that and really celebrate it for ourselves. And then it's like icing on the cake for whoever we choose to give that part of ourselves to. But in no way is anyone entitled for that, or that is the only time for us to enjoy that part of ourselves.
Agreed, totally. It's empowering. Like, I'm grateful for all of the stages of my relationship with makeup as they've been. And I'm really grateful to be where I'm at, where I'm so comfortable being with like, this is probably the first time that I've had makeup on this podcast. I'm so comfortable to be like bare skinned, and it's so liberating to be able to go outside in 95-degree weather and know that you're sweating, but also feel comfortable. Like the minute you put some makeup on, even if it's great makeup, it's still, you can feel it there. And and it's itchy and you don't want to touch it because you don't want to mess it up and you don't want an eyebrow to fucking sweat away. But the moment so that true. I choose, it's true. Like, you don't want to be like,
yeah.
And then all of a sudden, there it is. It's gone. You've turned your eyebrows into a unibrow, which is a look. Don't get me wrong. You're right. But the minute that I choose to put on makeup, like today, I was like, okay, I got some blemishes. I was just not feeling myself, and I don't need to cover them up. I've come here with blemishes as well. But I was like, let me just put a little bit of makeup on, like concealer, mascara, blush. That was it.
Yeah.
And because I have reduced myself to being, like, not reduced myself, that's the wrong way to say it. Because I've gotten so used to seeing like minimal makeup, the moment I put a little bit, I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like,
girl,
bad bitch alert.
You're a prize.
Bad bitch alert. And it was nothing. I love that. I love that effect that can have for me.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm over these like rules and like, you know, this is when you should be wearing makeup. This is when you shouldn't. It's like, whatever. What
whatever.
Do you? Yeah.
I catch myself sometimes judging women I see on like TikTok or Instagram reels, like doing a get ready with me and they're about to go to the beach or the pool and they're like putting makeup on. I get a little judgmental because I'm like, you don't like sort of like the feminist, like, you know, rage. I'm like, you don't need that. I'm like, whoa, Brianna. First of all, maybe they just want it. Maybe maybe they were going to the beach and they were trying to look cute and they were trying to look spicy and like this was part of that production. I don't know their intent, but I should also reserve them the right to make that decision for themselves instead of me holding this like judgment because of whatever my relationship with makeup is, or hot weather or the pool or the beach.
Yeah.
Let me just chill.
I love, like, it's so interesting when we get triggered. This happened to me at work the other day. I got an email. I had a meeting with some folks on Wednesday, and then on Thursday, I did a follow-up email, and this contact wrote back asking the same questions that I had just answered while staring her in the eyeballs the day before. And I literally, like, I love how everyone that I work with is so into mental health, because I sit there and I take a big belly breath, because, like, I get this email and I'm like, I immediately feel some kind of way. And I'll talk about what that trigger is in a second. But I take a big breath and I'm like, and then all of a sudden I'm like, you guys want to know what one of my biggest triggers is? And then one of my coworkers, he's our brand manager, Sean's like, I love this conversation already. And I was like, cute. When I have to repeat myself, or like I feel unimportant, I feel like I spent this time, I answered your questions, and I wasn't important enough to you to listen to me. Like the first time I answered these questions. And so, and I'm like, it's so funny because really, like, and then I sit there and I'm like, and let me actually focus on what I do know. You know, selective hearing's the thing. Our attention span as humans is about 7 seconds. So it's like, I'm sitting here choosing to interpret this email as, Alex, I didn't listen to you yesterday, so you need to repeat yourself because now I'm going to pay attention to you, when yesterday I couldn't pay attention to you. Like, you know, you weren't worthy of me listening to you. Right. And it's like, when really this has nothing to do with me, guaranteed this person just had a mental blip and like wasn't actively listening at that point in the meeting. And so it's really funny, like when we have these triggers, it really is an opportunity for us to sit with it and be like, what is this really about? Like, what about this is causing this feeling within me? And like, can I choose to look at this from a different lens? And so it was funny because this belly breath trigger moment turned into all of us kind of collectively laughing about this thing of mine, you know, because it's also relatable, because they get emails too and they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, I completely agree with that. It's like, excuse me, I've said this 10 times. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I'm really glad that you phrased it that way, of like, this is what triggered me, this is what I had to sort of listen for in my own reflection of that moment. And then it was actually a choice to tap into the possibility that they didn't mean it the way that you experienced it. I think that that's so important, because when we're talking about being triggered, it's sort of in mainstream media at this stage and just in casual conversations, I think that what people tend to harp on is like, why are you choosing to be why are you choosing to be triggered by this? Why are you choosing to allow this to upset you? And it's like, it's actually not a choice. That's the whole point of the trigger, is that your body is responding to the stressor automatically. It is not choosing anything. I'm not choosing to, maybe from your perspective, because I'm upset about this, you're reading me as sensitive. That's usually it, right? Why are you being so sensitive? Why are you
if you have that to say.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
But it's like, but I think for the people who do experience and have a relationship with trauma, stressors, and therefore triggers, I think you do need to recognize that you do have a level of choice here. It's not in how you actually react. It's how you process it. It's how you reflect on it. And that's what you take a matter of choice in. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, I feel this way. That felt really personal. I feel like they did this on purpose. Belly breath. Yeah. Okay. What could this also be like?
Yeah, and that's why I preach about emotional regulation all the time, because it's like, without that, it does become a knee-jerk reaction, and I would have fallen down the, tunnel of heavy emotion and it putting me in a mood for the rest of the day. But when we can regulate, we get what I call this like buffer period, where it's like, I'm feeling this trigger arise and there's a window of time, right, for me to choose a different response. And so that's why it's like, when we can really build a habit of regulating before we respond, it empowers us to actually move forward instead of stay stuck in our trauma responses. Because that's really what a trigger is. There's some kind of wound in there that this is like hitting a nerve, and that's where that like immediate like, oh, I want to come at you with knives feels like. And that's when that happens. But, we don't need to be held captive by that. It really is a choice for taking the moment to be like, what do I need to chill for a second and actually tap into my logical brain? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, absolutely. And that the emotional regulation really creates that space so that you can have all of those moments and they're all valid at the same time. The reaction is valid, but the space to transition from reaction into decision making is important, because you want to be able to make a choice about what you want to do next or how you want to make sense of what just happened.
Exactly.
Absolutely. You know what I love about our show?
What?
It's like, we have created a space. We've created a space that is, it's like all encompassing of we're able to talk about like our relationship with makeup and how it has both hurt and helped us. We can talk about like some really relevant and applicable mental health skills and insights. And also it ties into this, like, it always comes back, like, the stuff that we talk about with the reality dating television always comes back to our mental health, values and understanding. And so I'm just proud.
Yeah.
I'm just proud.
Go us. Pat on the back. Pat on the back. We're celebrating
it's like
this one.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Go off. Anyway, just love it.
The villa. Jesus.
Not just the villa. Not just the villa. The Casa Amor villa.
I know. Oh my gosh. If I was going to sum up this last week of this show, I would basically say that everyone is learning there are consequences for their actions.
Yes.
Riddle
100%.
me that one, Batman.
Yeah, 100%. It's bad. And you know what? It's interesting. It's bad. It's dramatic. It's entertaining. It's probably everything that you want from the show.
Yeah.
But it's also just like humans being humans. Like,
yeah. And a lot of like egos are being challenged and a lot of sensitive parts are coming out. And there's a lot like, I can't look, we'll probably leave Andrew and Tasha for the end, but like, or towards the end, but like, I have so much to say about that. I have so much to say about that. And, yeah, I guess we're just going to get into it one couple at a time. So everybody buckle the fuck up.
Yeah, seriously, buckle up. I think honestly, which is interesting, because this is not typically the people that have the least amount going on in previous weeks, but let's just get Ekansu and Davide out of the way.
Okay,
for
let's
once.
do it. Let's get it. Let's, yes.
because there is something there that I do want to sort of like pick your brain about. But
let's go, baby.
so okay. First of all, Casa, the boys, hella excited. They are very excited to have these new girls. The girls are appropriately excited. Would you agree? Disagree?
Yeah. I think appropriately is excited is a great way to put it. They're like interested, and excited to meet new people, but
they're not losing their goddamn minds.
Right. They're not like in this state of, when you see the guys pop off, I literally was like, this is so primal. Like it feels like apes in the wild, like beating their chest, like mating call. They're jumping in the pool and throwing stuff in the pool and jumping on beds, but it felt so like I was watching a zoo. And I laughed. I was like, I thought it was kind of cute. I'm not going to lie. I was like, look, guys, like you do you celebrate and all of that. But I think what's really interesting here is the difference of intentionality between the two genders that we see. And so this is one of those times in this show where it gets a little interesting because it's like we're dealing with a lot of people who identify as male and a lot of people who identify as female. But I think like no matter how you identify, and for non-binary folks, it is interesting to like have this conversation, and I want everyone to feel included. You know what I mean? So just throwing that out there.
Yeah, well, we're going to make generalizations to these specific groups that are like showcased on this show.
Right.
Because the boys do act like a motherfucking fool. I'm going to be honest. Like, like the girls are a little bit more thoughtful. They're still, I agree with you. I think both groups of people in their respective villas are going into the experience trying to keep an open mind because of the terms of the show, right? It's like, at this point we've had a lot of really solid couples, or so we think, and they're trying to be open to exploring other connections. So they're going in with the same mindset, but the way that the boys address themselves and one another is very probably the best example of groupthink I could ever.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Thank you. 1984? What's his name? Orwell? George Orwell or whatever, the author. Yeah.
Yep, you got it.
It's like an echo chamber for the men.
Uh-huh.
And whereas like the women kind of approach it as like a one size fits all, it's not a one size fits all type dynamic. Like they
very individual.
Yes, they very much were like, Danica, you get first pick, because like they wanted to prioritize her since she hasn't had a connection yet. And then, the Gemma and Paige being in the relationships they're in, they very much like locked it down and were like, I'll crack on with you guys as mates, but like I'm not gonna pursue any of you. And then over yonder at the OG villa with the gents, we have them all wanting to like throw it all into the wind and be like, let's see what happens. And I've talked back to the TV so worse than I ever have. And I watched a lot of this with Pseudo Mom yesterday. Like I watched the majority of the episodes yesterday, and I just could not keep my mouth shut. Like I was screaming into the void, because it's like the lack of intentionality or like perspective taking before they made decisions is what we are now seeing at the end of the week come back and shoot them in the foot. Like,
yep, exactly.
Emotional maturity, and we hear this all the time, like women mature emotionally more than men. I personally haven't looked into the science on that yet. I want to now, because I feel that that's really what's happening. We have a 19-year-old girl being so intentional and so like she's a pretty good communicator for the most part, Gemma. Like, do I think there's been sometimes where she's been a little passive aggressive? Yes, but we all have our shit, she's being so intentional and so emotionally mature, and you see the guys kind of like slip. So it's, dude,
girl, they slip, they fall, they get muddy, they have to climb back up the hill. Everything that could happen to them happens to them. But the reason that, like, something that really supports all of their behavior is the identification with one another, assuming that they're in the exact same position. It's like, if you fall, bro, like I fall, and it's like, y'all are not in the same place. And I can tell that you're trying to attach yourselves to one another. to justify your behavior and to make yourselves feel better about the sort of wrong moves that you're about to make out of, honestly, there's no respect, but out of the disrespect for the other people in the other villa. I know that you're trying to do that to make yourself feel better, but it's like not the move. It's just not the move. Okay. So interestingly, like Ekin-Su and Davide like sort of leave each other and go to Casa at a place where they're just sort of starting to reconnect. And I think Ekin-Su left with, I need to prove that I'm loyal to Davide. And Davide is like, you know what? This is probably my opportunity to connect with other girls and see if what I have with Ekin-Su is still worth pursuing. I actually don't have any issue with the two of them being on separate pages and going into that experience differently. I think Davide handled that pretty well. I think that he gave himself a shot respectfully to connect with other girls. Did he make out? Yes, absolutely, but definitely not to the degree of the other dudes. So I didn't even have any issue with it. Ekin-Su was pretty closed off, which surprised me.
Except with George. Yeah.
Except with George. She shares the bed with George. And it's very unclear to see what happened, but it was like what I understand is that there was a bit of mutual hand play, and you see her sort of get really like physically hot temperature wise, and so all of a sudden she like gets herself out of the bed, and then the next day when they're sort of talking about it, she's really using the fact that she got really hot as like the excuse about the behavior. And so all of it was very much like, I did a thing that I think I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt was just like a sort of a natural human, you know, there's sexual tension here with a person I don't even know, I don't even really like, but like we're in bed together and like touching can happen. I can see that. But the next day was very laying it on thick to cover her tracks.
I agree. Like I can give her grace on the like we're gonna just own it, dude. I did not like that she told him keep it to yourself, basically, in a very like adamant, defensive way. And then I did not like when she returned to the villa how she acted all high and mighty, self-righteous when, you know, her and Davide are kind of discussing what they did. Yeah. And this is what bothers me about her is like, you know, girl, if you're gonna do these things, you need to at least own these things, right? Like
totally.
You cannot have your cake and then try and eat it too. And what I mean by that is you cannot make whatever decision you feel like making and then either position yourself as usually she positions herself as the victim of whatever the fallout is or what other people choose to do, and you're like, again, self-righteous about it. So, like, you know, I think that I low-key was hoping Davide would make a connection with someone else because I'm not Ekin's biggest fan. And I'm like, girl, go home. Personally, that's how I feel about it. Just because I don't think that she's in a place where she can really be an honest, committed partner. I think she's kind of lost in her own sauce right now. And we all go through that. I was lost in my sauce. Like, you know, but we cannot put our partners, we can't hold our partners at a standard that we aren't holding ourselves at. And I feel like that's what she's trying to do.
And I think she struggles with that in every relationship that she's in.
Agreed. Yeah, we saw it with Jay. We saw it with Davide the first time. Yeah. She can be quite reactive. It's interesting though, because I'll be honest, like you and I are sort of on an island about how we feel about her and her connection with Davide. Like the public love them together, and like they do make for really great television. I really like Davide. Like I love how his personality is sort of blooming. I also like his voice of reasoning with the other guys. I agree.
I think that's important. And I wonder if also that's like due to cultural differences, like his reasoning just sort of cuts through the fat a little bit. But here's the thing, like, yes, the show is for the purpose of like, who's going to be a strong couple, but it's also about like, are these people going to have relationships once the show ends? And there is no way there's a bunch of couples that I feel this way about, but there is no way that Davide and Ekin-Su will ever make a month outside of this taping.
Yeah, agreed.
Never.
And like, I'm okay being on an island about how I feel because, again, I'm not looking at this from a lens of, you know, reality TV and who's like stimulating and like who's interesting to watch.
Totally.
She is interesting to watch. I can acknowledge that.
Yeah.
I am looking at this from a healthy and toxic behavioral type science way. And if
totally,
that
100%.
it's so black and white to me that she's not in a good place. Like she is, especially with how she's been on this in this villa, she has some toxic behaviors and narcissistic tendencies.
Yeah.
So it's just like, that's my goal in speaking up here. Do I think she's beyond all help? Absolutely not. That girl could get, you know, fix her stuff and become an amazing, healthy, conscious partner. It's just, that's not where she's at right now. And so I'm here to make that known.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that. I think that she's a good example of mistakes that a lot of us have made in the past or are still currently making. Yeah. Okay. So they reconnect, they come without each other. Here's the thing about this show is that the experience that happened on camera with the hands in Ekin-Su's bed with George, it's going to come back to the surface in the 100%. Show somewhere. They're either going to show a video, a clip of through some really weird fucked up trivia game, or it's going to come up in one of their, like, you know, we're in sexy outfit games. Like it's going to happen. Trust.
Yeah.
The truth always comes out, doesn't it?
Yeah. I'm also curious to know if another gal or guy enters the villa, if they'll just be like, by the way, Davide, like, this is what happened. Because I feel like people do that since they watch the show before they get there. So we'll just have to wait and see. But agreed, like, we know that that's going to happen.
They're not letting that slide at all. It's too easy. It's too easy.
Because of the way she acted. Like, if she had owned up to it, you know, like, okay, Davide, like, I'm going to give you grace because this is what I did with George, you know, then there wouldn't be a move for the show to make. But since she didn't do that and she immediately took her hand away from him when he admitted he made out with some chicks, and like, she really questioned him and was hard on him and was like, I stuck to my promise. And it's like, bitch, no, you didn't. Girl, come on.
No, you didn't. I know.
No, you didn't. Yeah, don't lie.
Crazy.
Come on.
Before we get into the other couple dynamics, I do really want to talk quickly about the beef that happened between Luca and Dami pretty early on in the castle.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I had to watch that 3 times. I ran it back.
I had to watch it over.
Happened?
I did make notes on what I understood happened. So, at this stage, the boys are going absolute apeshit about the girls coming in. They're really excited. And here's the thing. Luca is very much part of this group. He's an integral part of their like boys club. And he's a supporter. He's also a pretty good friend. Like he sort of involves himself quite frequently. And you can see by his very, very clear reactions on his face when stuff happens with the other guys.
Yeah.
But when things quiet down, he also sort of shares his perspective and his opinions, and maybe they are often biased. But I think oftentimes it seemed like he was making some comments about maybe what the boys were doing in regards to the other girls, the new girls, very early on in the Casa experience. We don't know exactly what he was saying, but it seems like he was probably a little bit critical of what their behavior was. And Dami immediately gets frustrated with him. He calls him fake. He calls him phony. He accuses him of trying to just win the show, which is really fucking stupid, because the winning of the show, outside of the fact that there is money, like, truly means nothing. It's like the Whose Line Is It Anyway, like the points. Remember when?
Love it. Points don't matter. Yep.
Points don't matter. You get 1 million points for this.
Yeah. And like £50,000, it's a great chunk of money, but it's not like millions of dollars. Like,
no, they're all going to make a lot.
Forever.
Yeah, they're going to make more in like brand deals through Instagram.
Exactly.
So
Your
they're fine.
Your Instagram following is going to grow, and that will be more of a longevity like type thing.
Yeah. But what happens is he's like calling him fake. He's also not supporting with anything. And Luca's getting frustrated. And I was sort of feeling in defense of Luca, because I was like, this person is like the least fake person I see on this show. Like, he's pretty honest about how he feels about a lot of things, honestly, sometimes to a fault. But like, but also all of the guys seem to be in conjunction. And what I understood their criticism of Luca was in this moment is like, sometimes we can tell that you get really excited with us, and then all of a sudden you change your tune, and then you have something to say about what we're doing, when just a minute ago you were yapping and clapping and getting really excited with us. Right. And so I understand that difference. However, I do think that particularly Dami's response was incredibly defensive on his part.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, the energy. Like, so it's really fascinating. Body language is something that I love to talk about and watch. And is it like an exact science? No. But what I thought was interesting was Dami stands up really quick to position himself higher than Luca, where Luca stays seated. And so
and
it's kind
Dami's
of like
already he's already a really tall guy.
Yeah, and Luca's like a skinny bro. Like, he's not like a jacked... Yeah, he's not... Yeah. So it was interesting because, you know, not only do we see Dami get defensive, we also see him try and take up a lot of space, which is, you know, a fight response. He's like, let's go, let's throw down. What I think was absolute, and I talk about this with clients all of the time, huge communication skill. And Luca, I was actually very impressed with Luca, because he starts to speak up and he's like, fake to me means this. And so that's a strong word. When I hear someone call me fake, this is what I'm interpreting fake as. And so that is a big offense or a big accusation to make of someone. And then Dami was like, okay, well then maybe fake isn't the right word. And I really appreciated that communication moment, because we make assumptions on what people mean all of the time. But in cases like this is a perfect example. That's not always exactly what people mean, because the way Dami defined fake was different than the way Luca defined fake. And this comes up in relationships all the time. So to take a moment and say, well, what do you mean when you say this, right? Was huge. And that's really what allowed them to like hug it out in the end and just put it down and move on. So I just wanted to, because when you saw that, you saw the energy kind of diffuse. So I wanted to point that out, because that's like a really invaluable communication skill to have.
Yeah, absolutely. It's this like non-combative way of asking the other person to clarify, right? And which Dami was not able to do in that moment until things did change a little bit. And then he was like, it's just that you do this and then next move you do that. And it was interesting. It also sort of set the tone for how the boys behave for the rest of the time spent with the new girls. Like, I mean, maybe we just saw less of Luca because obviously he's also not flirting with the other girls. Yeah. But he also seems a little bit on the outs with the boys for the rest of the trip. Like, he's just keeping a little bit quieter than he typically does. I think he was missing Gemma. I think he was missing his buddy, his pal in there. And he was like, you know what? These boys are clearly going to do whatever they're going to do. I guess I'm just going to hang back until someone asks me my opinion. That's the vibe that I was getting. Yeah. So we have to leave Jax and Andrew for later. So I'm going to compartmentalize to focus on Dami, I guess, and what happened with him. And conversely, what's happening with India on the other side of things, right?
Yeah.
So Dami and India are already very close. Dami makes lots and lots and lots of bold statements about him liking India and it being so great, blah, 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 so easy, too good to be true, blah, 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 blah. And then they get to Casa and Dami is overly excited. He's a little carried away about all of these women. He just clearly he loves women and he's not used to dating exclusively. We don't learn this until a little bit later, but I think that Dami and India have both had conversations with each other about being heartbreakers in the outside world and being players, right? Yeah. And we really see Dami's behavior show itself in the house with the new girls, like he probably behaves on the outside world. Right. There's this debate though, because I think, or I guess I want your opinion. I think that the environments of Love Island, the show, in all of its encompassing, Casa Amor features, you can't behave the same in there that you would outside.
No. It's a microcosm. So, it's one of these things where, and we've talked about this on the show before, in the real world, the people you're dating aren't hanging out in the same house 24/7 for 5 days. You know what I mean? So there needs to be an extra level of transparency here. Whereas, like, in the real world, if you're dating, you can be very open, like, yeah, I'm seeing a couple people right now. I'm just, taking my time getting to know everyone to see which connection stands out, but I don't want you to think that, I just want us to be on the same page, right? Like, if you get ahead of yourself emotionally, like, whatever, use better words than I am. Alex hasn't finished her coffee yet. But, in the real world, you can kind of be very, like, open, but you don't need to give the details. Whereas in the villa, you kind of need to be like, yeah, so I connected with this person and this person. This is how far I went with that person. Because you all are literally watching each other hook up, basically. So it's like...
And there's film.
Yeah, there's film. So, like, if you don't get caught in the villa, you damn well will get caught post, like, now we're watching the show back.
Yeah.
So, I really feel that that's where a lot of these folks are screwing up. It's like, you just gotta own it.
So I feel with them to the point of, like, if you were dating Summer okay, I gotta finish my thought and then I'll get to my second thought.
Okay.
If Dami wants to date Summer, this new girl, in the way that he dates on the outside world, like making out, kissing, really, like, being quite affectionate in the time that they spend together, and maybe that would be okay to behave in that way because it feels natural with both or more people that you're attracted to that you're seeing at the same time. However, maybe the show is actually a really good example of why that's actually probably not okay, even outside of it. Because what we see happens with Summer is that, like, because of the way that she's treated by Dami, and Dami's just like, I just need to explore the connection. I need to explore the connection. I need to just go in. I just need to do it. All the while he's feeling bad, but he's seeing what the other boys are doing. He's over-identifying with their behavior as well. He's lumping himself with them. He's saying, we're all going down, whatever. Fucking bullshit. And so all the while, this girl who doesn't know India personally, has only connected with Dami on the show, is being treated like a love interest, and then, to feel at the end of it, like, I'm actually not that interested in pursuing you. Like, we probably should be more careful with how we date each other.
Yeah. And not so, like, if Dami was more emotionally self-aware, he could have paced himself, whereas he threw himself into it just for the sake of throwing himself into it, and then is backpedaling. I want to, okay, this is going to probably trigger a lot of women, but I just want to open up the floor for us to take a lens perspective of men. Men get pushed to kind of groupthink because if one of them decides to be like Luca, emotionally vulnerable, just to your point, look at what happens, right? And they all respect Luca because they, to a degree, because they know how connected and basically in love he is with Gemma, so they weren't going to tease him about that. But, that's when men get called a simp or, like, you're pussy whipped or, like, all these things, these derogatory things because they are connected and committed to one woman. And so I feel that there was a lot of, it very much subconsciously for Dami and other men, Jax too, but they feel this need to, like, again, compete and be the alpha male, the one that gets all the girls. And so they do these things behaviorally, even if they don't really want to, as a means to, again, assert their masculinity. And so it's like, can we give men the permission, again, and this is societally, can we please give men the permission to love who they frickin' love and be committed to who they are committed to and not shit on them for choosing to be a one-woman man? Like, please, Because too often is it celebrated that how many people have you slept with? How many girls are you dating right now? Wow, you're such a bro. And then women get the complete opposite. Oh, you're a slut. You're dating 3 guys at once. It's not okay.
Yeah.
So I just want to open the floor for that.
Well, we definitely see that play out with Andrew and Tasha, and have been so in the weeks leading up to Casa Amor as well. Like, Tasha gets a very bad rep for exploring connections with other guys up until this stage.
Hardly exploring them. Conversations and one little makeout. Like, oh my God, I can't.
Yeah. And she's made out to be seen as someone who isn't invested, doesn't have any respect for Andrew.
Yeah.
Right.
I wanted to come through the TV at those girls. I was like, how could you do that to your fellow gal? Like, fuck.
Yeah, and we called this last week's episode. We were like, Dami. Well, I mean, Luca didn't participate, so he still gets to stand on his high horse in what he took up with Tasha before Casa. But like, Dami was so adamant about how he felt about how Tasha moved with the other guy, with Charlie, with Jay when they came in regards to Andrew. Dami didn't give a fuck about India when he went all in, literally splish splashing around with a girl around his waist. All of them were doing this.
I know.
Like, again, we said it. Yeah, we said it. Everyone's super judgmental till it's on you, and then you got very little to say negatively about your own behavior until it's time for you to apologize. Ooh, I can't. The apologies that come really bother me.
I'm so excited to talk about that too.
Yes. Okay. So conversely, what's on the other side of the other villa, which is India, who is exploring connection with Deji, who I really like.
Deji's chill.
I really like Deji. Deji's chill. Yeah. They sort of match each other's energies really well. Yeah. They're both from London, and so they have this like hometown connection involved, and I like how he dresses her. I like how he checked in with her. He mentioned a number of times like he was affirming. He wanted to let her know he's interested in getting to know her. She's really the person that he sees himself connecting with, but he wants to be respectful of the relationship that she was just coming from. And I thought that was like some king shit. And India is also sort of taking an interest in it, and she's being quite careful and thoughtful. And from her perspective, she starts thinking about similarly what Dami was thinking on the other side, which is if I was dating outside of here, I would be dating multiple people at the same time. I would continue to explore those connections. Now, to our points earlier, I don't think that dating the same way in this context is actually the way to go. If you're having trouble finding the one so much so that you find yourself on a dating show, you probably need to break your patterns.
Yeah. You
probably need to do things a little bit differently.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Hardcore, yes.
However, but at least she's not putting 2 feet into the water. She's dipping a toe. Yeah. They're having conversations, and they are building a connection. So much that Deji really likes her.
Yeah. Yeah. I also want to just shout it out because Danica, Josh, Deji, and India, they don't get much screen time because they're so chilled people.
They're boring.
Yeah, see, this is the thing. They're the most boring. That also probably means they're the most healthy conversations and connections because they're taking their time, right? It's a slow burn like we talk about on this show all the time. And so, whereas the other ones that get more screen time, there's more drama, there's more outbursts, it's most likely not as healthy, it's moving really fast. So I just want to throw that out there for some awareness around because the couples we're talking about with Davide and Ekin, they're one of the most popular couples because of the drama, not because it's healthy, right? So
totally.
We need to be careful about what we consume and we get excited about on TV because it will translate into your real life if you're not conscious, if you're not aware. So, yeah, I mean, it was good to see, again, just so fascinating because a lot of the women were really respectful and intentional about how far they went with the new Casa guys because of their connections with their original Villa guys. And it was the total opposite for the Villa guys. The majority of them were like out of sight, out of mind, except for Andrew until the girls said what they said, and then the guys hunkered down on it, which, again, I have so much to say about that. You know, it's really sad. It's really sad. And Luca obviously was very intentional too. So. Yeah.
Let's take a pause because I actually forgot about Danica and Josh.
Okay. Let's talk about it. Exactly. Yeah.
I forgot about them.
Yeah.
When like really this was supposed to be like Danica's week, and it's not that it wasn't. Let's take them from beginning to end. So like Josh comes in, he's clearly very flirty. He clearly is like a young dude that still is very focused in his life on partying. Like that's definitely a priority to him. Like partying, he probably goes out a lot, wants to hang out with his boys. He's having conversations with Danica, and I stand by what we were saying last week, which is that she is having a hard time actually just like being herself instead of presenting herself in a way that I think that she wants to be perceived as.
Yeah.
So they're not really connecting, but they...
Yeah.
Me too.
I can't figure out exactly what's going on, but like, you know, she wants the connection, but to your point, she's like so focused on having a connection that she's not focused on just being her and like allowing it to happen. She's like constantly, as they say, grafting for it with all these different people instead of sitting back, being her, just genuinely getting to know everyone and seeing, you know, what happens. Yeah, I really feel for her.
It's so weird because she is objectively so hot.
She's a gorgeous
She's
gal.
really hot. She's really hot. And no one's drawn to her.
Yeah.
It makes you think.
Yeah, because it's like if she just led with her. Here's the thing. It's like marketing. And this is a concept I teach to clients all of the time. We probably even have already talked about it on this show, but this is exactly my point. Your authentic self is what magnetizes the connection, right? It's like you and I, when we were kids, we were our silly selves together, and that's what like connected us for life, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, so not everyone is gonna be for you. So it's like, just like when a business is trying to market, a business isn't for everybody, right? Like Apple has a demographic they target, whereas IBM has a different demographic that they target, right? And so on and so forth. And so it's like when we date and we try and like, you know, become a chameleon to appeal to the masses, we're actually doing ourselves a disservice because that's not attractive. People can feel that. They can feel that vibe of like, this doesn't quite feel right. And so it's like, I feel that that's what Danica's kind of struggling with. It's like, she's so, again, focused on just finding a couple to be in, to like stay in the villa, to have this experience, maybe to win the money. Yes, she wants to connect with them, but she's actually not, because she's not just being who she is and having the one quirky thing about her that stands out, that makes her different from the rest of the girls, whatever that is, you know, she's not actually finding a connection that thrives. They keep fizzling out. So it's like, that's something to be very aware of. Danica isn't supposed to be for every guy. She's not supposed to be for Andrew, Jay, and who else did she go after? The other guys. Oh, Luca.
She went to Luca.
Yeah.
Initially, it was like Luca, Jax, Jay, Andrew.
Right. So it's like, girl.
The list goes on.
Yeah. It's like, be you. Like, so for me, my authentic, quirky stuff is like, you know, video games. I'm really nerdy and into trauma and Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings. And like, you know, these are things that not every guy is going to be down with. And that's okay. Sure. Because I want a guy who is down with that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's my point. It's like, if she could just allow herself to express her vulnerable authenticity, she actually would make so much more progress. But she's so status quo and like beige because she's trying to be everything for everyone. And it's like, girl, that is not how it works. You know? Yeah. She's got a beige flag. And that's the magnet. That's the magnet, is just be you.
Yeah.
Be weird.
I agree. So, like, I do think that her and Josh get on with each other more than they were with other people. but it's also a little bit about how the girls were positioning themselves. They weren't closed off, but they weren't doing what the boys were doing. They weren't like leading with their genitals and then seeing what happened. So, I think that Josh may have connected with other people differently, but he and Danica sort of, latch on. And
I have a hypothesis. Sorry.
What is it? No, I mean, there's not much else to say because the tune changes when they get back to the villa. Obviously, she brings him. It's not really a spoiler alert. She brings him, and the tune changes, and he's like, I need everything to scale back. What's your theory?
I think that he was with Danica to get into the villa, and now I think he's going to go for Coco. I feel like he's going to go for Coco. I don't know why.
I want someone to go for Coco. I like Coco.
Oh, I don't. I don't like her.
Ooh, I love when we don't agree.
I know.
Okay.
We'll talk about it.
Okay. So I totally agree with your hypothesis. Maybe not even specifically about who's going to go for, but I do think that he wanted to go in with someone, and Danica was obviously an easy pick because she wasn't exactly attached to anyone.
Yes.
Now, conversely, someone else I forgot about, Jay, on the other side of the villa, obviously a clearly free agent, happy to get on with any of the girls. Jay is someone like Danica where
Agreed.
I don't know what it is that, like, because again, objectively hot, though I'll say I'm not attracted to him personally.
Yeah.
And I think maybe it's his personality. It's just like
beige. Same thing with
beige.
Jay. It's
But
like,
I don't think Danica is beige.
No.
I think that the way that she presents herself around men is beige.
Yeah, where Jay is very
I think
chill
Jay
and
is
laid
kind
back.
of beige.
Yeah,
generally.
I agree. I think I actually made a note in my notes that he has a good tush too.
No, Jay has a rockin' bod, a rockin' torso, great torso.
I'm looking at his booty. I'm not even looking at his torso.
Girl, I meant to tell you that I went to the gym the other day and I was like, that's a butt that Alex would like. It was a good one on a man.
Snapped a pic. I'm just kidding.
No, that's harassment. It's harassment in those spaces. But I did think of you, and I made a mental image, and you can take that with what you will.
Can you paint a picture? I'm just kidding.
Girl, I could definitely draw this ass. I could definitely draw this ass.
I love a good.
Okay, so
they're just so fun to squeeze. And I like it when my
I haven't got my hands on it.
Mutual.
Me too. It feels good. It's very like it's it's validating.
Yeah.
She's back there. She's poking. Okay. Yes, Jay. Jay is someone else who is struggling. It probably made Tucker's ears go.
Yep.
Jay is someone who it's interesting that he is not making any connections, but I think it's not because these girls aren't interested in him. I think that he loses interest, whereas on Danica's end, it's that they lose interest in her.
Yeah.
Jay loses interest in them very quickly.
I wish we heard more from Jay because I'm curious to know if he's like an avoidant where he hyper fixates on like what won't work
I think
or
he's
like
avoidant.
what's missing in the connection. Like I don't feel like I've heard enough from him in his confessional to quite figure it out, but that's kind of what I'm leaning. That's my only thing that I could hypothesize about that right now, you know?
Yeah. I think he's also a good example of I don't know if he's established like financially in his own life, but he's a good example of a person who probably has other areas of their life really built up together that has an elusive idea of what they want, but they don't actually have any clarity on what they're looking for. So they're not able to recognize it as they're dating.
Yeah. Huge, right? Like having that clarity of exactly, and you got to date to figure that out. You really do. You have to date. You have to get to know people. There's a lot of trial and error to figure out what really works for you and what you're looking for. And so it's interesting because he's 28 and still trying to figure that out, you know? So again, I need to look into the whole men emotionally mature later than women. I want to look into that to see if there's like,
girl, I'm doing my own
validity.
qualitative study as we speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I'll give you my data points, my research.
I can agree with that from my own experiences. I'm just curious to know if there's
totally
a study on it.
Yeah. Like a real one, not just Brianna dating all of South Florida.
But your experience is valid too. You know, we can't science our way out of everything. I think a lot of women would agree with these statements. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Yes, but to have some legitimate information would be
and the
grounding.
reason I bring that up is like I have a 32-year-old client who's been happily dating a solid 24-year-old guy, and she at first was like, I will not even consider it. And I was like, honestly, why not? Because if he's emotionally mature and you like him, then why are you going to get in your head because of the age? And now granted, this person's from Europe, so again, culturally, I think there's a difference there compared to American men who are 24. But they've been together since February or January, and they're going strong. So it's like, is that a hard and fast rule? No. But,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Okay, who's next?
So we talked about Donnie and India, but we're not talking about them coming back to the house together because I think that that's a very different conversation.
Yeah. So
right?
Let's have it.
Okay. So now, I was going to switch over to Jax.
Okay. We can talk about that.
Jax's behavior is...
I was upset, really upset.
It's... Okay, two things specifically that really stand out about the way that he moved in the Casa experience. Number one, he was quite early to sort of lay down the tracks of, I need a test. I'm looking for a test. Homie, that is not a thing.
No.
That's not a thing. It's just not a thing.
Thank you.
He's saying, I need a test. I need a test. He tells the girls he needs a test. The second thing is that Jax showed very clearly that he has no problem telling a girl, I like you. I see myself being with you. I could see myself having a lot of fun with you. I could see us getting into trouble together. He will say that to a girl's face and then go to another girl and say, yeah, I'm not really interested in them. His words mean nothing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Girl, I had
his words mean nothing.
Because, it's so funny. I was talking to a gal in the UK, and she actually, obviously, like, they're getting these episodes ahead of us. And she said, like, I need to hear what you think of Jackson Page. She's like, I need to know.
Yeah.
And so I was like, good, I'll let you know. And now I'm like, this is why. Because it's not okay. We talked about this last week. I'm going to reiterate it again. The second Casa starts, I don't know if it was Molly or Cheyenne. I think it was Cheyenne. But he tells one of the gals, like, there's no one that's walked in here that I've immediately been like, I need to get to know you. And it's like, excuse me, you and Paige have basically been couple goals for the last couple weeks. And now you're telling this gal that basically means nothing to you. Because that's not what we're seeing. And then, the Molly-Cheyenne dynamic where he tells Molly, like, I want you in my bed. Like, I'd be open to you having you in my bed. And then literally 5 minutes later tells Cheyenne, I have more of a connection with you. I don't see it going anywhere with Molly. And then he goes and tells Molly that. So it's like, bro, figure your shit out.
It makes you double back. Absolutely. It makes you double back everything that we can recall him sharing with Paige up until that point. Maybe there were not other people that put him in a similar position where he was so interested in Paige, but he was also interested in him. If he did have that experience, we would have seen this behavior much earlier on. It doesn't actually mean anything about how he feels about Paige. It just means that earlier, up until Casa, we did not see what he was truly capable of doing when it comes to flirting and sussing out his options. I'm not mad at a person for exploring connections with other people while they are in the early stages of dating.
Right.
That is fine. But when you're essentially fuck bombing, like, because I'm not gonna say he's love bombing because he's not like I love you, but he's like I will fuck you. We will have a great time fucking. Essentially, we'd have a really great time together. He's sort of like fuck bombing and like boyfriend bombing.
Yeah.
When that is your default tactic to explore connections, that's when I will title you as a certified fuckboy.
Agreed.
In the most serious way.
Yeah.
Serious.
Yeah. It's that this doesn't and I like what I want to just like explore or like expand on this point because it's like and this is why I'm always saying, like, if it moves too fast, if it's too good to be true in the beginning, it most likely is, because what Jax is doing is trying to paint this picture and very much capitalize on the sexual tension of the dynamic to establish a connection really quickly. And so he does that, and he plays with Cheyenne's feelings exactly in that way. And because Cheyenne doesn't listen to our show, you know, she's unaware, so she falls for it and, like, gets attached, gets connected with him, and is completely dumbfounded when he doesn't pick her, you know, and chooses to go back to Paige, whom, by the way, is over there completely closed off to, like, all other connections. Like, doesn't even entertain it for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and to be fair, like, she gave herself a little bit of wiggle room to, like, connect with Billy a little bit and talk to these other guys. But she didn't. She called it off really quickly. Yeah. And, like, yes, maybe she didn't feel a connection with any of those guys. It's entirely possible. If you bring me 6 gentle suitors, it's not a guarantee that I'm going to vibe with one of them. No. But I also, what we also know about Paige and how she moves, because she sort of said it from the beginning, like, she can get really stuck on one person quite quickly.
Right.
So the fact that she was thinking about Jax in the other house because of all of the things that he has filled her head with.
Right. You're my best friend.
This
is what I was looking for. Yeah.
Yeah. Then she is, you know, inclined to consider him with every move that she makes in that new place. So, like, he just, again, and it's the fucking shitstorm between Jax and Dami and Andrew and Luca and Davide and Jay. Like, everyone is swirling around each other, reinforcing and encouraging the behavior. So, but that was fucking gross, bro. Yeah,
I didn't like it.
Gross to watch.
And I'm really, like, so they rekindle. Cheyenne was very honest. After the whole recoupling happens, Cheyenne immediately goes over to Paige and is like, you know, you're a sweet girl. I don't want you to get played. And she basically tells Paige kind of what went down from her perspective. And Paige goes and has a conversation with Jax, or tries to, rather. And Jax so many red flags in that he was so trying to put it on her and, like, escape accountability for it. And now, and, like, Paige, rightfully so, like, got up and walked away and was like, this isn't okay. Like, I need time alone. She's pissed. And it got to the point.
She also needs it to sink in.
Yeah, because it's a lot of them. Like, it's a lot of things you don't want to hear that you're hearing, and your brain is kind of like I don't know what to let me process what's happening.
Yeah.
It does. It feels like that. At least for me, it quite literally feels like a mind jumble of, like, you know, wait, hold on,
like you're short circuiting.
Like, yeah, exactly. It's like, let me hold on, and that's clearly the fight, flight, you know, response happening of, like, holy crap, like, let me find some stability here. And so, you know, she goes to try and do her own thing, and Jax kind of won't leave her alone, and, you know, she calls him out, like, you're sitting here sulking. He's like, I'm not sulking. And it's like, yes, you are, dude. You're sitting on the stoop alone. When have you ever done that? When have you ever done that? But he's so, like, again, he's so defensive. He cannot be vulnerable, cannot be like, you know, I screwed up. Yeah, I made out with this chick. You're not going to like it. This is what happened to the extent that it happened at. And I said some things I probably shouldn't have said because I was caught up in the moment. And I'm really sorry. But he couldn't do that. He could not do that. He was so defending. Like, it's Casa. That's what we're supposed to do. We're technically single. We're supposed to test this relationship. And I hate it. I actually have it in all caps in my notes where I hated hearing that. I was like, can people please stop saying, you know, I need to test this connection, because really all you're saying is I don't value the person I've already connected with enough to not test it. Like, when you care about someone and you value them, you don't want to risk the connection. If you're willing to play with that fire, that's saying something. And Paige even says that. She's like, if you're really willing to test it, then something must be missing. And he could not answer to that. And so Paige very much, like, started to realize, like, you did that for the sake of fucking doing it, dude. And that's not cool. Yeah. That's not cool.
It very much, like, you can have your motivations and your reasons behind, like, why you would want to pursue other connections in the way that you went about it. But at the end of the day, I have to choose to see the reality of what this reflects about how you feel about me.
Right.
Right? Like, she was not trying to come at him for the fact that he was so blatantly disrespectful, but she was just like, it just is clarifying that, like, this connection wasn't worth you considering of how it would affect me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I actually loved what Gemma said. I wrote it down as a quote. I don't know. I need to organize my notes better for this show. I haven't quite figured out how to do that.
It's tough.
Maybe I should do it by person.
Once you do, it'll be over.
But
it's going to be over by the time you figure it out.
I was like, totally agree with Gemma. If she's gonna be gone for a couple days and Jax can't keep it in his pants, then that's on him. It has nothing, because Paige was saying, like, well, what does this mean about me? And she's like, absolutely nothing. And I actually just had that conversation with a client yesterday, because, you know, she's dealing with someone who has been physically abusive as well as verbally and emotionally abusive. And she's like, you know, this is what he used to tell me. And, like, what does that mean to me if this, like, abusive person can't even love me? And I'm like, girl, it means nothing about you. Everything about where he is in his state and all of the projection that he's going through, right? Like, you know, that he's doing to you.
Yeah.
And it's like, women, please hear that. You know, if a guy chooses to cheat on you, it doesn't mean that you're not good enough. It means that guy doesn't have the capability to communicate, to express himself truly, to remain loyal in the moment of stress or temptation. It has nothing to do with you and your worth. Ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I think it's interesting to see, you know, Gemma's handling this quite well, because I think that having dated Jax herself for quite some time, like, she could have a lot to say. I don't think that I would have been as composed as Gemma has been this entire time while someone is getting to know a person that you very much have a very specific experience with. And it's very clear that the two of them broke up. We found this out when they were sort of going back and forth about a little fight that they had a couple weeks back, but that she didn't trust him when he went out.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't trust, and it is very clear why.
Yeah. But
this is
clear. Why, if I was Paige, like, you know, if I was Paige and I hadn't had that conversation with Gemma yet, I would be a little pissed that, like, she didn't tell me, like, I just want you to know.
I don't know.
You know?
I don't know, because I hear that, but
and maybe they have that combo, and Paige chose to date him anyway. But if Gemma this whole time has not told Paige, I would have been a little like, could you?
I hear you. I don't think that Jax being this type of dude was much of a surprise. So I think what my assumption is that Gemma probably wanted to draw a line to not outwardly, like, express a really subjective experience she's had of this person. You know, maybe she's trying to give her friend Paige and her ex Jax the opportunity to sort of be different versions of themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
In a connection. You know, like, I don't think that I would want any ex-boyfriend of mine to go up to someone new that I was dating to be like, well, she was always like this when we were together, because like maybe that cuts me off from the opportunity for this person to get to know me in a different way.
Totally. And I wouldn't go about it that way. If I was Gemma, I would have sat Paige down and been like, hey, Jax, we had so much fun together. It was great. I'm excited for you too. And I just want to say, this is my experience. However, people can change. People can grow up. And maybe he's not in that place in his life. That would be how I would handle it. Just because it's like, you know, it's for me, like, if I was Paige, I would have wanted that. And so that's why it's like,
I get that.
She was on the other foot. But I agree. Like, I think that's why Gemma probably hasn't said anything, is because she's trying to give Jax the benefit of the doubt to be like, have you grown up? Like, are you going to treat her better than you treated me? But we see during
the minute that Jax, the minute that Jax, you know, shows his, like, true color, Gemma is like, dickhead behavior.
Yeah.
Absolute dickhead. It was obviously hard to watch. Jax not knowing how to express himself in the, like, reconciliation, the like, wasn't apologizing for things because he felt like she wasn't going to believe him anyway. I thought that Paige also handled every step of this
so well.
Very well.
So well.
You know, she's like, it's just really immature. Like, you just really don't know how to even make up make up for some of the things that you've done. And, you know, it's really disappointing to see Jax take this like full victim approach where he feels like he's the one that should be upset, and it's a little manipulative too, right? Because Paige sort of has to reconfirm for herself, like, no, I'm the person that is hurt here. I'm the person that you did this, like you created this. I'm supposed to be upset. You don't get to be upset because I'm upset. Like, you fucked up.
Yeah, exactly. So I am really proud of Paige. I really like Paige. You know, until this moment, Jax and Paige were one of my favorites. And now, obviously, like, I still love Paige. But Jax, I'm like, bro, you got some growing up to do.
I know, but you know what? She's gonna soften to him.
Oh, man.
I guarantee it.
This is why being in a microcosm is so... Because it's like, what else is she going to do?
Yeah. Yeah, I would want her to, like, move out.
Go home.
Yeah.
But I don't think she's
or
going
if he
to.
should go home.
Yeah.
And he's not going to either.
I'm okay with that. He should go home, and we'll bring a new guy in for her.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about India and Dami's reconnecting.
So, you know, I think it's so funny about Dami is, like, he can talk to the other guys and give, like, pretty, like, decent advice. The majority, not always, but, you know, with the communication thing with Jax, he was like, bro, you said probably, you probably don't need another test. Like, come on, man. Like, you're supposed to say no. So, like, he knows, he knows things like that, but then he can't do it himself with India at first either. And so it's like, again, we kind of go back to what I was saying a couple weeks ago with Dami, with India, when they first were getting together. It's like he doesn't want to show his cards. He, like, wants India to show hers first, and then he'll make the decision. But we see... as time goes on, finally he snaps and is like, okay, I'm going to lay it all out there. But initially when they go to sit down, he doesn't even talk to her the first night she's back. Sorry, I dropped my water bottle. And then,
okay.
It just kind of becomes a cluster because of the lack of transparency and then the lack of effort for her at first.
Dami is the most frustrating to me when he is trying to make moves with whatever his particular fling is at the time.
Yeah.
Like, he is so, Dami for me is an example, especially with this conversation with India. It's like they come back. So this is the second part of their reconnecting. Because the first night, first of all, they were very combative and very petty with each other at the recoupling.
I hated that. I was like, what is this about? Like, you can't be judgmental. You chose another person. She chose another person. Why are you guys coming at each other? Like, what?
I didn't understand that at all.
Yeah, you wanted to choose another person, but God forbid they did. Like, and they both were like that.
And honestly, that goes on both sides.
Yeah, exactly.
Both sides.
India too.
They should, you know, they're allowed to feel feelings, but they should have looked at each other and said, fair play.
Yeah.
And then and shut their
done.
fucking mouths. Also, how disrespectful for the two people that are on their arms.
I know. It's like,
I felt really bad for them.
If I was Summer, I would have been like, clearly you're still into India if you're that pissed she brought another dude back, so I'm gonna go talk to Jay. Bye.
Exactly. Like, it was horrible. Gnarly. That was horrible to watch, and I get it, like, very dramatic, very entertaining, but it was horrible. I think so. They ignore each other for the rest of the night. The next night, then they talk, and it's just, I think it's the two of them sort of coming back together, being like, it's weird that we can't really hang out, but they're both like, but we both did this, and then there's sort of this. Dami explaining what did happen. He said, 4 or 5 kisses, which, homie, I think your math is wrong on that. I think that you may have lost count in your Casa Amor experience.
4 or 5 days of kissing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly that. And so I don't know. And I think that the two of them, I think India in particular, was trying really hard to more or less to not seem bothered than to actually have any sort of reaction. Yeah. That's what I was getting from her, which is always hard for me to see because it's like, you know what's so weird?
What?
This pair, again, Public's experience is like the favorite to win the show.
Yeah.
And actually, to know that infuriates me.
Dami and
because
India?
I don't see them as a strong couple
Not
at all. In literally any regard. No. The only thing that I'll give them is that they have like a magnetic, banter, friendly connection. Exactly. They have good banter. They're very comfortable around each other.
Like they're the
and
same
I know that
person.
that's what. Yeah. And to be fair, I think that quality that they find in each other is what they were missing in their original couples, and so it just sort of doubles down on them like feeling like the connection. But everyone else fucking loves them, and I'm like, you guys, this is never gonna work.
No.
It's literally never going to work, and I don't know why we're entertaining it.
I will say this, because I just said they're basically the same person, but to India's point, as she says in one of their, conversations later on, is like, I'm a heartbreaker, but I'm not disrespectful. Like, I didn't kiss him, you know what I mean? And it's like...
She handled it very much better.
She did, yeah. She was like, yeah, sure, I took the time to get to know him, I talked to him, but I wasn't like... throwing myself at him with this like sexual tension and connection and all of that. I feel like if we were gonna, God, I think it's so interesting. All of these guys did that. All of them, they like threw themselves into this sexual connection. I feel like there's for men, a lot of them have this mentality that that's what relationships are, and it's so much more than that. It's so much more than that. But all of them are like, I'm going to test my connection with my original Villa girl, and how do they handle it? It's not the emotional connection that they test, which is what makes or breaks a relationship in the long term. It's all the sexual connection that they test. It's so interesting to me. It's so interesting.
Honestly, to your point, that's exactly what this Casa Amor experience was like, because other Casa Amor experiences, when people have come back with someone new from the Casa journey that wasn't their original couple, it was because they had like a pretty deep and surprisingly close emotional connection with someone else. Okay. Like, it was like they connected with someone at that other house. They were surprised by that, and it was like a thing that they couldn't ignore. It wasn't like we've had 3 days of like raunchy playtime and it just makes sense to bring this person back. That's not what it typically is like. So this felt really immature, very short-sighted.
So, okay, we're going to digress for a hot second. Do you think maybe
I love it.
That the men approached Casa Amor this way because when we first got to the villa, they didn't get to choose who they were with, and the public decided that for them, so now they were trying to exercise their right to choose in this Casa. I'm like, I just don't understand if it in the past has been more of an emotional connection focus, which guys, this is my first Casa Amor experience. I haven't watched a Love Island since they've had this new dynamic. So, so I'm just trying to figure out, like, if that's been the cadence in previous seasons, why is this season different? And the only other outside factor I can think of would be the public deciding to match them first so that autonomy was taken. I don't know.
I hear that, but my opinion is that it doesn't have much relevance because there's actually not that many original couples anymore.
Sure.
So they've all sort of exercised a level of choice, with the exception of Tasha and Andrew.
Right.
They're the only like original couple still, and they have a very different dynamic for very different reasons.
Yeah.
So
I'm just curious.
I don't think so. But to answer the question, or to hypothesize on the question of like why is this experience different? Yeah. I actually just think it was the effect of the groupthink.
Yeah.
I think it was just groupthink. I think that similarity in all of their behavior.
Yeah.
Well, it was sort of everyone getting really excited a little bit. So one, everyone wants to support Jay meeting girls.
Right.
Two, everyone's really focused on Andrew taking this opportunity, right? And then there's the very second nature of Jack's I haven't been tested before issue, and Dami being like, I can't believe how many beautiful women have just entered this space, and my girlfriend, for lack of a better word, is not around. And I think it's the connection of all of them in how they celebrate with one another and how they rev each other up and how they get a kick out of this like very like lad type of behavior. Just really supported all of these really horrible decisions.
Yeah, it was icky to watch. Oh my god.
Gross, totally gross. Okay, so here's the part that I want to focus on with Dami and India that is like last on my list for them, which is Dami does literally the bare minimum in their conversations, where he's just like, it's really just like looks and suggestive messaging. Like, you know, I don't even have anything verbatim locked and loaded, but it is just very like presumptuous. Like, you know, that we have a really good connection, you know, that we're going to find ourselves back with each other, like type shit like that without him saying that. And India just ate it up. She goes back over to Deji, which for her plan was not to tell Deji that she didn't want to see him anymore, which it's like, you can't do this in this space, you guys. But she goes to tell Deji, like, her and Dami are still interested in connecting, into talking to each other, getting to know each other, like, what's, like, there's anything else to get to know. And Deji's like, okay, so you want to be with him? And she decides to answer that truthfully, and she says yes. And he takes himself out of the situation, but before he does, he tells her, and maybe he didn't word this right because he starts with like it shows that you don't have respect for yourself type of a thing, which he didn't really mean. But he's basically saying, you look stupid going back to this person who so clearly disrespected you. He sort of made that clear. He was like, let me clarify. I think that what Dami's behavior was disrespectful towards you. So do you take him back in the way that you are right now seems like a stupid move. And she didn't like that at all. I don't blame her for not liking it, but I agree with him.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
I think she fucked up because I actually think her and Deji would have a really good connection.
Yeah, but I don't think she was fully open to it. I think she was trying to be open to it because she knew Dami would throw. She knew. She even said in Casa Amor, like, I know Dami's gonna, because she knows him. And she, like I said, they're very similar people. And so she's like, I think she was trying to push herself to be open to a connection, but I don't think she was truly open to a connection. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that to each their own, everyone has a different threshold for tolerance. So if that's something that India's like, I can get over that, like, fine. But I will say that, you know, I agree in the sense that, like, Dami, like we just said a second ago, he went too far. Yeah. And when he goes to tell Summer that, you know, and break it off with Summer, essentially, Summer says that. She kind of calls him out. She's like, well, I think you did a lot for wanting to just test the connection with India. Like, you did a lot with me.
100%.
And so, again, and this is why it's like, even if we're dating in the real world, this is something we need to be mindful of, because it's like, if you're really into someone and you're like, I really like them, but I'm super sexually attracted to this person, so I'm just gonna have sex with them really quick, then I'll cut it off and I'm gonna go into this and we laugh, but let's be real, this shit happens, okay? I know.
Just, it's like, it's so clear that is the logic, but it's just so funny to me.
But that's my point, is like, there are, like I said at the start of this episode, when we're starting to unpack this, everyone is realizing there are consequences for your actions. And it's like, you know, Dami felt justified in doing what he did and felt like India, you know, couldn't be so upset with him. But it's like, she has a right to be upset with you because you went way further than she did. And meanwhile, what about this other gal that you've been fiddling with? So, you know, we need to understand, again, there's consequences to your actions. So if you're going to try and make a move like that, be ready to lay in the bed that you made for yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which should have been the title of this week's episode.
Well, maybe it will be.
Just lie in your bed.
Yeah.
So that's where we leave them. They're obviously, well, we don't know what's going to happen, but I have a pretty good idea. So then we also have, now it's Tasha and Andrew.
Hell yeah.
Let's fucking get into it. Where the hell do you want to start?
I want to start with the new girls entering. So first of all, you know, we kind of talked about this a few times. Tasha has been crucified for having a couple conversations with Charlie. She did not hook up with him. It didn't go very far. You know what I mean? And then I don't even remember who else was there, but she talked to some other guy, and that's it. Like, this girl
Jay,
is
earlier.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah. And she cut that off really fast. So it's like,
immediately.
Yeah. So I feel for Tasha, and there was a part of me that's like, does the UK see stuff we don't see? I'll be honest, I'm not watching unseen bits. But what is frustrating is, like, the girls come in and immediately are like, you know, you look like a mug. She is not as committed to you as you are to him, which I'm like, what are you seeing that I'm not seeing? Because I'm literally seeing Tasha have this inner battle of, like, I really like what I have with Andrew, and sure, I'm interested in other people, which you and I have talked about. Yeah, that's normal. Okay. But you make a choice to stay committed to the person because of whatever you value in them. Right. So, you know, and that's been pretty consistent for both of them. They've talked about exclusivity. So she goes into her Casa experience sort of open, but not really, and very honest about how she feels about Andrew. And she kind of keeps Billy at arm's length initially. It took him a couple days to, like, get through to her.
She in their earlier conversation, she tells him she friend zones him.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, meanwhile, the girls arrive, start this rumor, which the guys hunker down on because of their own wounded egos of, like, which, again, makes no fucking sense, because this whole, like, rules for thee and not for me, like, you know, vibe with the guys, like, they can all go make out with people, but God forbid if one of my girls talks to someone else, that's crossing the line. Like, are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
So they're holding Tasha to this, like, ridiculously high standard. So the Casa girls come into the villa, they start this rumor, the guys, like, kind of back them up, and I didn't like that. I did not appreciate the girls coming in and just saying that, when it's like, what are you seeing that I'm not? Because I totally disagree with that. And immediately it gets in Andrew's head, and so because of that, he throws himself at Coco just to, you know, feel good about himself, really. Like, I don't think he was ever truly...
Oh, and does he throw? He throws.
Yeah, he was rebounding
mouth first.
Hard with Coco. Yeah.
Dick first, mouth second.
Yes. Yeah. And
it was insane.
It was hard for me to watch because I was like, this is so bad, because Tasha's over there initially trying to very much remain loyal. And even when she does kiss Billy one time, you know what I mean? She still feels guilty about it. And so it's like, you know, she comes back. Excuse me. She comes back to the villa with Billy. Andrew feels pushed to pick Coco, and you can see Andrew is torn up. That man breaks down. He's crying over it. And I really feel for him, because really Andrew is having a mindfuck and doing all of this over a lie. And that's what was so heartbreaking for me.
It's honestly, it's a really difficult situation for both parties for very valid reasons, because I agree with you on Tasha. I think that she has been held to this ridiculous standard that she can't explore anything, and anything that she does, she'll be crucified over. Pretty much everything you said. I do think, though, if I'm going to make one critical comment towards Tasha, is that if you are exploring your connection with Andrew, and you have been doing so up until this time, and in so many ways you feel really good about it, and maybe there are some ways that you feel that there's things missing because of the way that you feel around this person.
Right.
Like, you don't, like, her comment has been, I don't always feel like my bad self, my bad bitch self, like the extroverted, like, loud, blah, blah, blah version of me. And when she finds that there are people that bring that out of her, it makes her question her connection with Andrew. She's able to do that, but I do think that at this stage, you can't expect that the person that you've been building with is always just going to want to wait around. And I think that that's the boys' biggest concern for Andrew, is, like, because he's not interested in anyone else and hasn't been open to, he waits around for Tasha, as Tasha is like, okay, how about this? Okay, how about this? Okay, how about this? I think that she does it in a very respectful way. I have no issues with how she goes about it. But I do think at some point you got to make a choice. You got to make a choice that you're either all in, or you're out and you're sacrificing because you do think that you should be with someone that gives you more of the side that you feel like is lacking when you're not with this person. Right? Like I understand, because here's the thing. She doesn't know what's going on with Andrew at Casa Amor. She has no idea that he's behaving like an absolute twat.
Yeah.
She still comes back with someone.
Right.
You know? Like, again, I don't fault her for it, but I do think that, like, it does sort of continue to reinforce, like, you are still not sold on this person, Andrew. So, like, maybe let him go.
Yeah.
Or
it's weird
double
to
down.
Me. Yeah, but see, this is what's weird to me is she's the one that started the exclusivity talk. She's like, I want to be tunnel vision on you. And he was like, yeah, I want to be tunnel vision on you too. So in my mind, they were both exclusive with each other. And then, yes, Casa Amor happens. Billy's making her laugh a lot and all of that. And she does what she does. And then, but then everyone's telling Andrew this other set of stuff. So it's just like, for me, when Tasha comes back with Billy, first of all, I was surprised. I didn't think that was going to happen. 2, her intention with bringing Billy back, and she does articulate this to Andrew, wasn't in replacement of Andrew. It was, I just want to be able, she wants to be able to explore it a little bit longer.
I know, but like this person already really loves you.
Her. Yeah, like,
and
Andrew
she know, and that's
solid.
the thing, like she knows that. So if you know that you really don't feel the same way, like because this is what I was thinking about as this episode was playing out in particular. If Andrew didn't hear those comments made by the other girls, and let's say he kept himself closed, he would have pulled a Luca. He probably would have slept outside. He would have closed himself off. He would have come back alone, and Tasha still would have come back with someone. Yeah, that would have been fucked, right? Yeah. But if he, you know, even if he let himself explore Coco in a more respectful way, and maybe still coupled up with Coco, we would have been in the same place. Obviously, the following events wouldn't have been. Yeah. Okay, tell me what you think would have happened.
I think if he was as respectful as Tasha was, and they just kissed, and they weren't like all over each other, and obviously the boob thing and all that other stuff, you know, I think that Tasha wouldn't be so torn up, and they'd be okay. They'd both be honestly exploring each other and these other connections. I personally feel, because I think Tasha at least has a decent head on her shoulders that she's not going to hold Andrew to a higher standard than she holds herself. I personally feel that way. So I think if he had remained respectful and still chose Coco and she came back with Billy, they at least wouldn't be with what they're dealing with right now, which is a hot mess of drama and heartbroken feelings.
I could definitely see that. I think Andrew's feelings are a bit too strong for him to continue to be cool with her bringing Billy back and continuing to explore Billy. But I hear what you're saying, whereas it would have been a little bit more on an even playing field. Now, Andrew bringing Coco into the villa, I think, was an absolute mistake on his part, because he clearly wasn't being honest with himself about how he felt about Tasha. Like, it does make this girl feel used. Right. She was used. There's really no other way around it. The reason why I like Coco, we should have our Coco debate right now. Okay. The reason why I like Coco, now I don't like how she came in. When we met her, I was like, same. I am not interested in this girl's vibe at all. Yeah, it was like a shark. Freaking me out. Yeah. However, I think that she's a smart girl, and I can tell in the way that she sort of handled herself. I like that her and Tasha have had a number of conversations since being in the same space. I like that she was like, I like that she even tried to spare the details to just when Tasha was like, okay, so what's been going on? She was like, honestly, you would not be happy to hear what's going on. She's not lying, but she's sort of omitting to not do the most. Yeah. She eventually tells other people, and that's what I don't like. Is like she kind of pulled an Ekin in that way. Is like I feel like she purposefully stirred the pot, and then she self-reflected and was like, "Whoops, that was kind of fucked up." But she was angry. And then she was angry. Yeah, I understand, but I mean, I'm of the mindset that it's like, yes, we can be angry, and let's not make other people feel shitty because of our anger. Agreed. I applaud Coco in immediately going to Andrew, being like, "I fucked up, and I told these people, and I told them not to tell, but like, come on."
we know it's going to happen. And I also applaud Andrew for doing the most uncomfortable, challenging thing and immediately pulling Tasha to own up to it before she heard it from someone else. Like, those were huge, badass, good moves, even though they are it's scary, it's uncomfortable.
He was
it was
shaking.
the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do. And so
I agree.
Really
he was shaking
Andrew.
though. It was really
I really
hard.
like Andrew. I feel for the guy.
Me too.
I feel for him.
I do too.
But I think he has a good head on his shoulders. I think he has a good heart, and I think he got lost in the sauce with his emotions, as we discussed. So Andrew and Tasha were my favorite. They were my favorite. This broke my heart.
Yeah.
It really did.
Well, I'll be honest. Gemma and Luca have been my favorite since the get-go.
Now they're mine, because, like, let's be real.
What's left?
Yeah, exactly. Like, Davide and Ekin are definitely not going to be my favorite.
Not my favorite.
So.
I just so we should talk about Gemma and Luca because here's the thing. Andrew and Tasha will never work on the outside world purely because what's gone on here.
Agreed.
I think that they're
There's
both going to be too wounded.
Now. Yeah.
Too much damage. And it's not that they couldn't come back from it, but they would have to, like, go to therapy.
A lot, yeah.
And actually, like, start a new version of their relationship.
Exactly.
They'd have to completely wipe the slate.
Yeah.
But they will never trust each other, so it's just done. India and Dami will never work out. It will never work out. Ekin Sue and Davide will never work out. Danica and Jay, good luck to yous.
With
Gemma and Luca, yeah, literally. Gemma and Luca, I could see dating for a while, and then not, because I think that Luca is too afraid to lose her. Mm-hmm. Here's what happened. So, Billy, if I was Tasha, I would have tried to think a little bit ahead about Billy and his motives based on his behavior in the new villa, before making a decision to bring him back, because I think that was a short-sighted decision on her part.
Agreed.
I think she was like, he makes me feel fun. Girl, he was making Paige feel fun. He makes everyone feel fun. You can clearly tell that this is his personality.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's always genuine.
Agreed.
I think that sometimes it's genuine, but I think it's also very calculated.
He self-identified as a player when he first came on. That's like how he introduced himself. So it's like, yeah, guaranteed.
He's too charming.
Yeah.
He's far too charming. So she, I think he tries with Paige, he gets shot down. Mm-hmm. I think he tries with Tasha, he gets in. I think that his goal eventually was Gemma, but he knew he couldn't go to Gemma straight off.
So he's
in the
playing
first couple
the
of
mate
days.
card. And this is something that people do. They play the friend card. They're like, yeah, we're just buds. But it's because if you can identify as a friend, people will let you have access to them. Whereas if he were to be outright and, like, try and just pursue her and be honest about his intention, he knows he's going to get shot down.
Yeah.
So I don't
and
like
Gemma,
it.
And Gemma, no, me neither. And Gemma does this thing that a lot of people do, which I also think is a little, it doesn't have enough awareness of the whole situation,
Naive.
which is like mates are mates. Like if this person's my friend, nothing's going to change. She's mistaking Luca's, like, edginess in this moment as mistrust for her. She's like, trust is a really important thing. Baby, he's not saying that he doesn't trust you. He doesn't trust this other motherfucker that he can tell what he's doing. He's watching it try. He's watching this guy try to play footsies with you. He's watching him put his arm around you. He's not making this shit up. He's watching this person move closer and closer and closer. And while you say, we're just friends, yeah, of course you think you are. Mm-hmm. You're not, though.
Yeah, men and women do this. Yeah, because, like,
yes,
I've definitely
100%.
been in relationships with a guy who's like, yeah, they're just a friend. It's like, you are so blind.
Yes.
Yeah. Because here's the deal. Luca's a guy, so he knows the moves that guys make, just like women, same thing. Like, we know the moves. We can spot it from a mile away. So,
100%.
If you hear your partner speak up, please listen to them. Please have the conversation. Don't shut them down and be like, you either trust me or you don't, because that is such a disrespect and invalidating comment to make to someone who cares about you, first of all, and second of all, isn't an idiot. Like, we know. Let's admit, men know the moves that they make, women know the moves that they make. Like, we know when someone's flirting. We know. Mm-hmm, so I do appreciate Gemma checking him when he had his arm around her, and she, like, she hangs out there for a minute, and then eventually is like, you gotta stop. Like, mates don't put their arms around each other, and she kind of spins out of it. But it's like, I'm trying to figure out where Gemma's at, because I feel like she likes it, but I don't know to what extent. You know what I mean? I can't tell.
I think that honestly, this is a bit of a trigger for her, because I don't think she would be as open to it if this wasn't a thing that clearly lots of other boyfriends have been upset about with her, because she even sort of idles by Billy and sort of makes a comment of like, don't you love how like we can't even really be near each other? Or like, don't you love that everyone's eyes are on us? Like, she's sort of like, it's almost sort of like
poking the bear.
She's joining with him. Yeah, she's joining with him to be like, God, like, isn't it annoying that we can't even be friends? And he's like, yeah, I can't even really be friends with you. And it's like, baby, you're just not
fire.
in the same.
You are playing with fire.
It's naive. It's either naive or it's just,
it's
or
calculated.
It's her own.
Yeah, it's either naive or she truly is interested and she's trying to figure out how she wants to play this and figure it out. Time will tell. We will see. Luca would be gutted. Luca would leave.
Gutted.
He wouldn't.
He would leave for sure. There would be no reason for him to stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Wait, there's one last
okay.
the twist that's twist? Coming for the next week. So you might not know this person.
I don't.
But maybe you do.
No, I don't.
The new guy.
Tell me, because clearly they just showed his face and then cut it off, and I was like, clearly that's somebody. So.
Okay, so Adam, I cannot remember what season he was from, because I watched like all of them back to back in like a couple months. I don't remember what season he was in, but I remember his behavior. So Adam is actually quite similar to Jay, but with a very different tone. He's quite similar to Jay in that he is immediately attractive. Like every girl wants to jump this dude's bones.
Interesting.
Like wants a ticket for that ride. Every single girl. I have a hard time sort of buying into it, because I'm just like, men that are like far too like objectively, like obviously attractive in a very beauty standard, masculine kind of way. I'm usually like, listen, I know what I look like. We're not on the same page. We're not there.
Girl,
I don't know. I don't. I mean, I do kind of mean it like that, but not in a negative way. I'm just like, listen, there's not a likeness to the two of us. So I don't feel, there's nothing for me in someone that is like gym buff, crazy gym buff, like, and like, too pretty, I guess.
Okay.
So listen, I love a strong, like sharp feature. Just to humble someone, I want you to be humbled, because this is Adam's thing, is that he was very like, he was just a dog. Like it was easy for girls to be attracted to him. He would like lay it on thick with a girl. They basically fell in love with him pretty quickly. And then he would explore another connection, hop right off, and literally suffer like zero consequences. He would go from bird to bird to bird. And he eventually met this girl. They're obviously not together anymore. And they wrote it out for the rest of the show. They didn't make it like too far. But it just, that's really all that's jumping out, is that he was just easily well liked. So they're obviously throwing him in here because I think that they want to throw the girls who have just been absolutely dogged like a bone. You know, they want to teach the boys a lesson with this guy who's like obviously going to get a lot of attention.
I know. I can't wait to see what happens with Ekin-Su and him. I'm just curious.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
There's going to be a thing. She's going to go for it. Okay, so red flag, green flag. Oh my God. If there could be a whole other episode of red flags, I mean, we just made it.
I know. Yeah. My red flag
Standout red flag.
My red flag is with Jax, and like just not being able to own what he did and apologize immediately and actually be transparent with what he's feeling, thinking, and wanting. And it takes him days to even we get a tiny glimpse of that. And like the other side of this red flag is being he knows what to say to get a girl attached, and then he doesn't mean it. So red flags.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So many to choose from. I could give a red flag to Dami for all of his behavior. Yeah. I could give a red flag to I'm going to give a red flag, and then I'm going to give an honorable mention red flag.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay.
Am
I allowed to do that?
Girl,
okay.
we make our own rules here.
My obvious red flag for me, I'm not even going to touch on Dami because we said too much. It's honestly Billy, because Billy is,
yes.
Everyone sort of accuses someone of being a snake.
Yeah.
Everyone accuses someone of being a snake on this show, and he's actually snaking.
Yes.
Because he's going from one patch of grass to the next, and he's eventually going to show up and try to bite down.
Gemma.
Yeah.
Gemma is his true target.
Exactly. So what I think, but my honorable mention red flag is it's Tasha in a very specific moment. So
tell me.
she has gone through all of this with Andrew after everyone gets back to the villa. Things with Billy are not really happening during the daytime.
Yeah.
They get into bed. There's this, I don't know if you saw it, but there's this clip of her like stroking his head, like giving him like, or just biting his ear, or like the most insane neck scratches that literally had this boy in like a trance. I like watched it back a couple times. I was like, what are we doing here? That's my red flag, because it's like I still stand by what we've said about her, and I still stand by her protest of being labeled as like this
villain,
like scarlet red, like hoe bag of the villa.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be honest, her behavior isn't consistent with what she's saying.
Yeah, I don't, and that's what I think is so I hear you and I see that. That didn't bother me.
Thank you.
I get what you're saying, and it bothered me in the lens of like, I want you to be with Andrew, so I didn't like that she was entertaining Billy. And at the same time, I'm like, I give her grace on that only because it's like, after finding out what the hell happens with Andrew, I'm like, all right, some head scratches and an ear bite, like, come on.
I know, but it's like...
No, but I get it. I get what you're saying, because it's like, you can't... but she's also not telling Andrew, like, I'm completely closed off to Billy. She's, like, being open. She's telling him, like, I want to explore him and you. But clearly her feelings for Andrew are much more intense than they are for Billy. And now I feel like she's trying to not feel that. But as we see, he gets to her eventually, and she starts to soften a bit. But yes, like, you can't, I feel like she was trying, again, just like Andrew was throwing himself at Coco to feel better about himself, I really feel that's what she's doing with Billy now.
So she's doing that.
Throwing herself
agreed.
at Billy. It's so funny, like, as we were talking, I'm like, oh my god, I didn't give a red flag to Ekansu, but, it's same old, she's keeping secrets, telling lies.
Yeah, she's doing a lot of acting.
Flags. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, she's doing a lot of acting.
My green flag actually goes to Andrew for his apology to Tasha. I thought that was a very...
Which one?
the last one we see, because I thought it was an actual legitimate, not that he hasn't felt remorseful before, because clearly he's been so torn up, but this last apology when he pulls Tasha and literally is like, I apologize for not telling you the truth and everything that happened. And like, he just starts like listing out everything and expresses like how he truly feels to her for her. And I thought that was an actual good apology, because we've seen so many like lame, I'm sorry, or defensiveness there, that I wanted to highlight this apology, because I think that is, we need to understand a true apology is specific and comes with a commitment of doing better, right? And so he expresses to her, like, I've really screwed up. I know that, but you're what I want here. And he was more specific than that, than what I just said. I'm paraphrasing, but he very much outlined like what his wrongs were, and expresses like, if you do choose to give me another chance, I promise I won't let you down. And he's being so vulnerable with her in that moment that I give him applause for that whole spiel. Personally,
yeah. And with that, I definitely get that. It was really hard to give one.
This week was a mess.
It was a mess, and I loved every single moment of it, but probably for the wrong reasons. My green flag goes to Deji. I just really think that he was like a stand-up dude with good character for his entire experience so far. Like, I really appreciated how he handled himself prior to being taken into the villa. I appreciated how he handled himself after India made it known that she was gonna, continue to date Dami.
Yeah.
I think that he's getting a shit situation. It was very interesting to see the final bit of this last episode where the public voted for favorite couple, because this is really an opportunity for the public to sort of express, like, even though we know that you guys are in these like new couples with people that you've already decided that you don't like anymore, we're saving some of you.
Yeah.
Because we actually think that you have something interesting. So India and Deji getting saved, I think, is very interesting. Anyway, here we're left with, I know I jumped from my green flag to the end of this episode, but we're transitioning. We're left with Jay and his couple. China, thank you. I totally forgot her name. China with an Y. And then we also have Dami and Summer, and one couple has to go. It's obviously going to be in the hands of the rest of the Islanders. My money's on them saving Dami because they want India and Dami to stay, and Jay is just not with anyone, right?
Yeah,
that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Bye-bye. All right. Well, thanks for listening, friends. We've enjoyed it.
What a good episode.
Such a good
episode. We fucking crushed that.
Killed it.
We made sense of a whole ass mess.
For real. We had a lot of garbage to sort through. If you liked this episode, go ahead and leave us a rating and review, whether you're listening on Apple or Spotify. If you don't watch our YouTube channel, definitely check out the link below and come look at us while we do these things. If you feel like it. And then other than that, if you're listening, go ahead and screenshot this episode, share it to the gram, and tag us at Ditch the Script Pod. We love to know you're listening. And then follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Ditch the Script Pod if you're not already, because we do things on there.
Sometimes.
We're working on being
at least once a week.
Yeah. And then if you have a question about your own dating and relationship life, then why don't you head to our website and submit it at ditchthescriptpod.com, and we will answer it for you. And if you want a free 30-minute mini session with us, you can do that too on our website, ditchthescriptpod.com/podcast.
Trust us.
Yeah.
You want it.
You want it. It's a vibe. It's fun. And it's free. So
it's helpful.
There you go. All right, y'all. See you later.
Okie doke. Bye.